Hello, 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 beautiful beings. Welcome to the desert of Joshua Tree. It is so magical here, and I am very happy to be sharing the magic with all of you. Not gonna lie, totally forgot that I even had a video today because I'm actually really just preparing for the Cosmic Gateway happening tomorrow, so there's a lot going on. But I'm really glad that I got reminded by a wonderful team member of mine that this is a Monday. So, this is actually a topic that I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. My greatest intention for today's video is to actually give you a little bit of validation on maybe what you're experiencing right now, maybe what you're going through and what you're feeling, because I was actually so worried that I had DID or dissociative identity disorder or split personality. I was so worried that I had that for such a long time that I never even wanted to talk about it, you know? And I felt like maybe talking about it would give it more credence, give it more attention, and the split would be even greater. I think as a starseed, as an old soul, as someone who volunteered themselves to be here, we all feel like we don't belong here. We all feel like this isn't exactly our home. We all feel like we're not actually the human or the body that we're in right now. So I think that we can all relate to this feeling of kind of just playing this game or kind of just pretending to be this person or really not feeling like yourself and feeling like you're someone else. So I've really struggled with that my entire life. And recently I started therapy, which I think I've tried pretty much my whole life on and off. And I don't think I was ever ready for it. I don't know why I wasn't ready for it. My parents tried to put me into therapy and counseling when I was a kid for some of the, sexual abuse stuff that took place. But once again, I rejected it. I really felt like it was a waste of time and money. But, you find the right person to connect with. And I know a ton of people who have never done therapy before who are actually doing therapy right now at this time. So I think that's really beautiful and really healing. The kind of therapy that I'm doing with my therapist is really fascinating. It's called Internal Family Systems, IFS. So please, if you can, check it out. Once again, Internal Family Systems. It is essentially taking a look at all of the different parts of yourself. And I want to talk about those parts today and hopefully maybe give you some validation as far as why you're going through what you're going through and why you feel the way that you feel. So before I get started, I just want to put out a last call that for anyone who doesn't have a ticket for tomorrow's event, oh my God, it's going to be incredible. If you really need this space to be held for you, to just clear out 2021, to clear out these old patterns, and to really set the intentions for 2022 and ask for what you want, join this beautiful event that we've got going on. It's going to be probably around 4, maybe 5 hours, because we are packing in a coaching call, we're packing in a Galactic Federation channel, we're packing in meditations, we're packing in psychic ability activities. I mean, it's going to be pretty wild. So if you have already signed up, just be aware that you will need a workbook. You will be able to either fill in the digital Cosmic Gateway workbook, or you can print out the Cosmic Gateway workbook and fill it in from hand. I personally, when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I love printing it out. I love writing in an actual kind of notebook. I'll be doing all of the activities with you guys because I really need the help and support as well. So it'll be really great. And we have a musical guest, so you really can't go wrong. Bring lots of liquids and waters and snacks and pens and paper and Also like sage and crystals and like whatever it is that makes you feel right at home when doing certain ceremonies and manifestations. All right. So, so definitely, yeah, grab your ticket now if you haven't already. If you're in a weird time zone, we did try and like align it to the time zones all across the world. But if you are in a weird time zone or you have to work, totally understandable. If you get the live event ticket, you also get the recording automatically. So that 4-hour event will be sent to you and you can do it at your leisure on your own time. Cool. All right. So, let's talk about internal family systems. Let's talk about split personalities for a little bit, because right now, what's taking place, what I've channeled, is that a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us are converging. It's a very cool word. We are converging all of our selves together. And I'm not actually talking about our quantum selves and our future selves. I'm really talking about converging our past life selves on this planet and our other selves in this lifetime. And so, so there's different sections of internal family systems. Obviously, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert. I really don't know this field at all. But I do want to go into the experiences that I've had and really just validate some things for you if you don't have a therapist and you're not going through this internal family systems sort of dynamic. So the two main roles that your other like selves have, and I guess before we go into the different roles that your selves have, I want to talk about why we have different selves. Okay. So anytime there is a major trauma in our life, there is an aspect, our fractured pieces, exactly, Scotty. There are aspects of ourself that split off, and they're basically this hurt inner child that just kind of stays there. And I mean, it's pretty obvious why that wouldn't be very conducive for movement in, moving forward and healing and all of that, is because we've got these kind of injured aspects. Like, think about breaking a bone in your body or having some sort of injury in your body, and then you have that scar tissue, right, that builds up. That is exactly what happens at a soul, emotional, energetic level. You have a trauma that happens, and there's just kind of this stagnancy that takes place. This is not special to just starseeds. This happens with every single human. Now, going to a deeper level of this internal family kind of split personality sort of dynamic, I really believe this is so cool, because as I'm doing this, I'm clearing all these past lives. I believe that the traumas that we go through in our current lifetime right now, especially because a lot of us are clearing all of our karma so that we can get off this godforsaken planet, what's happening is the traumas that we experience in this lifetime are actually quantumly linked to not just one, but multiple different lifetimes where we experience the same lesson or the same trauma from that lifetime. So when you go through that trauma or a really bad breakup or whatever it may be again in this lifetime, we can either learn from that, heal that, listen to that, feel that, and move on, and really move on from all of these other lifetimes. Or we recreate that trauma and that pain point, and we really lock in the fact that that is a separate part of us. We all do this. So that's the explanation of why we split off. The other thing too, and it's very similar to like the book that I read a really long time ago for school called Sybil, who is a little girl who went through a very, very, very traumatic upbringing. And she had like 20 some odd, maybe more, split personalities. The difference between dissociative identity disorder or split personalities and this internal family systems is, with internal family systems, you're actually aware of the other aspects of yourself. With DID or dissociative identity disorder, you're not aware of the other selves. And so typically you will black out and another self will appear at the time when it needs to appear. Now, we do this all the time, right? Except we're fully aware of the other selves that come through. What I'm starting to notice is there are so many times throughout my day, throughout my week, that I have these like, either like controlling or like frustrated or angry, different parts of myself. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, why am I feeling this way in this moment? And it's like these other selves of mine are coming to the surface in order for me to recognize it and say, who is that? Which part of me is that? Because that's not really me. That's not who I am. That's not myself with a capital S. That's not my higher self. That's not who I want to be. So we're all really getting made aware of these other different parallel selves of ours. Now, I want to explain the main different selves that you will have. Typically, there is a protector, there is an exile, and there is a manager. And I think that there's others, but those are the only three that I know of. So the manager, as you may have guessed, is the one, kind of like the mama bear in the group of all of your different parallel selves, to say, oh, well, this one needs to come out, or I'm doing a speaking engagement, so this version of me needs to come out, and this version of me needs to come out, and what have you. And so that's the manager. Typically, you only have one main manager, but you could have multiple. Typically, only one. And then you have a lot, and I'm saying a lot of protectors and a lot of exiles. So the protectors are basically the ones who, what I've channeled anyway, what I've kind of tuned into with my own work is that the protectors will come out when a trauma takes place to protect the hurt part of yourself. And that hurt part of yourself is called the exile. So for example, I have this 6-year-old version of me, and probably my most apparent exile. It makes me emotional just talking about her, but basically I call her Little Liz, and you can have names for them too, which is pretty cool. And I did go through molestation when I was a kid, and that went on from probably 6 to 11, I think. And none of the parents in my life were aware of that was taking place. And so it was this hurt inner child was like, where are the adults? This is not right. Why aren't they picking up on the fact that I'm hurting? Ugh. And at that time, the protector came through to basically kind of distract from the pain of that exile, the pain of that hurt inner child, to say, you can do this, you're strong enough, look at this, you don't need your parents, you don't need authority figures, you don't need to be helped, you don't need to be saved, you're strong enough. So that protector will come through and really shadow the exile, because the protector believes that you're not strong enough to feel those emotions. And and so I'm really glad that I had the protectors that I had. I'm really glad that I've had the experience of having these exiles and these hurt aspects of myself, because I've learned so much from it. And then I have my manager as well. I call the facilitator. And the facilitator, puts all the pieces in place at the time that it needs to be put in place. And I'm really happy, that I've had this facilitator as well. But I'm at a point now where I really want to stand in my power. And so what's going to be taking place, especially at this time, just on the planet, especially for you guys, the conscious community, you're going to be yearning for control back. Not in a narcissistic way, not in a negative way, not in an imbalanced way, but what happens is when we have all of these different parts of us that we're not even aware of really controlling or kind of being more dominant in our life, we're not the one who's consciously in control of how we're navigating, how we're reacting, how we're connecting, how we're disconnecting to the world around us. And that can feel very frustrating. And this is why you may feel very out of control in your life right now, when you're like, well, life is really good and I shouldn't feel out of control, but I do. So why do I feel that way? And most likely it's because you have the exiles, you have the protectors that are competing. And what's interesting is anytime I feel like a resistance or I feel reactionary, which isn't very often, it's typically when two parts of me are actually competing for attention or competing for that moment to surface. So I asked my therapist, who's an expert in this internal family systems, and I asked her, I said, like, what's the end goal? Like, my logical mind really needs to figure this out. Like, where are we going with this? Like, really, like, what is this end goal of all of these different parts? Because you're meeting the parts and you're, converging them and you're, feeling all the feels and whatever. And so I said, what's the end goal? And I said, ultimately, what I would perceive as the end goal is to recognize all of the different fractals within yourself and to feel what they need to, hear what they need to say, feel what they've been feeling, neutralize the energy that they have, and then to get rid of them. Honestly, that's what I told her. I said, is the point just to get rid of these exiles, to get rid of these parts of us? And she said, no, actually. And of course, take it or leave it, right? This is just one person's opinion. But she said, no, actually, each one of these parts of you all have specialties. They all have special skills. And that really makes me think of all of the different lifetimes that we've lived and all of the really beautiful, special skills that they have for us. And she said, the goal is to always be in that self or that higher self. So really to always be in that objective perspective. And then for us to consciously choose, I'm bringing through this, sports-oriented self to like kick ass in the soccer game, right? I'm going to bring through the confident, outgoing self so that I can kill this speaking engagement. Like I'm going to bring through the vulnerable self so that I can really get connected to my partner, right? So the goal is integration. The goal is to come from that objective perspective, to see all of the different parts that you have, to recognize them, to love them all, and to bring them through when it's appropriate to bring through. But to not, I think that when we're not aware of them, they will just kind of run rampant, in our life and in our, in our consciousness, and our reactions and reactions will be completely dominated by those selves. And think about it. They are all so limited. They all have a specialty role, but they're also so limited in what they can do and what they can see in this grander picture. So I think it's a really fascinating study, and I think that what we're all doing right now is we're really, really, really getting pushed to bring these selves together, to really converge all of these hurt, traumatized fractals of ourselves. And you don't have to have experienced a huge trauma in your life to have these parts of yourself. Like I always say that a trauma to one person is a very different trauma to another person, or a very different experience. Like, for example, like my brother could have stolen a stuffed animal from me as a kid, and that could have been the worst possible trauma that I could have gone through. And in that experience, I was able to relay, past lifetimes, or clear, energy where I'm not, being supported by my brother, right? Or whatever. So it's just important that we really understand and realize that no matter what experiences you've gone through, you definitely have these different parts. And I'll also say that I think one of my greatest fears in going into these different parts was, well, if we focus on the different aspects of ourself, like if I focus on all these different weird, personalities that I have, then don't I empower them? Like, don't I give them power? Because I believe that the more we focus on things, the more we manifest them. So I was really worried that, like, I don't want to focus on, like, the dick version of myself, and give it more power and just be that person. And it's actually the exact opposite of that is what happens. Upon focusing on them, they feel seen, they feel heard, and they no longer need to push in every moment to feel seen, to feel heard, and to be like, hey, over here, you haven't dealt with this. It's time to deal with this, right? So whether you go into therapy, whether you watch some videos on internal family systems, whether you kind of just dive into your own self in a meditative state, no matter what that looks like for you, it's important to really ponder this and to really ask to have that convergence, to feel that unity within yourself. Because truly, how can we help the entire planet unify if we are not unified first and foremost within ourselves? And it's kind of like aligning all of your chakras. Once that's in full alignment, once you're in full alignment, I mean, watch out, world. Everything comes together. Because imagine this, right? Say you're in your protector self, who's like very kind of like, rebellious and doesn't like the government, and that's totally my protector, and like all this kind of anger right towards the system, and you're trying to manifest, but you don't actually recognize that the self that you're in at the moment that you even have the time in your week to manifest is your protector self. Forget about manifestation. You're not in this self. You're not in that higher state. You're not in that objective perspective in order to manifest. So things will happen really, really quickly when we, first of all, recognize the different parts of ourselves, and then neutralize those different parts, and then continuously step back so that we can step into that higher self state, that unified state. And in and from that state, we can then explore and expand and manifest and set intentions and what have you. So I wanted to just bring this information to all of you. A short, sweet, quick video. I do have to conserve my energy for tomorrow. It's going to be a lot, but I am so ready for it. I am so excited. So I hope to see all of you at the Cosmic Gateway. It's going to be incredible, and and it's time to let go. It's time to move forward. It's time to set manifestations for the new year, and I am so ready to move on, really. And I know that 2022 is just going to be pure magic for the ones who have done the work. So let's show up. Let's do the work. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much, as always. I will also be in Joshua Tree tomorrow for the Cosmic Gateway, so I'm so excited for that too. This is the perfect place to be, and I will most likely have the beautiful desert scene behind me as well. Thank you so much, Phil, for that beautiful super chat. I really love those numbers as well. As always, I will see all of you in the 5th Dimension Frequency and also at the Cosmic Gateway 2022 workshop. Bye for now.